individual races today?
I was pretty happy with it overall. Honestly, I wasn't really sure what place I was in at the end, and I was like, this is not going well. Once I fell off that pack at 19, it got a lot more difficult, but I had a few bodies strung out in front of me, and I was able to look up and just focus on one person at a time. I thought I closed down respectably over the last few miles, and I definitely competed the whole day, so those are things I was proud of. When I saw that I was fifth, I was a lot more happy with the overall performance. So.
Great. And Desiree and I were chatting in the corner discussing the start line and the wind on the Verrazano Narrows Bridge and how brutal it was. And knowing that that was the worst of what the wind was going to deliver on that day. And so I wanted to stay within the pack as long as I could, so I wasn't running alone. That was kind of my goal. I went into this race with a time goal of 2:25 or 2:26. The fitness I thought that I was in, but once the weather reports started rolling in this week, I had some secondary goals of just getting out there and competing and trying to stay in contact, and lost contact with the leaders, was by myself for quite a ways, but towards the end of the race was able to clip off some runners. And when you see stragglers in front of you, it tends to feed you and give you some motivation to charge on. So felt very engaged the whole race, slightly disappointed with the time that I ran today, but despite the conditions, I feel that it was the best that I had, so I'm pretty proud of that performance.
Questions for either Dina or Desiree?
We got one more American for you.
One more American to bring up. Meb Kufleski, come on up, Meb. Meb, please just talk about your race. You were in the front and center for a lot of the race. What was going through your mind? Tell us what it was like out there.
Well, it's great to be back in New York, and this is my 9th time running, and the TCS New York City Marathon has been wonderful, and the race, deep, strong, windy, challenging, tactical. You know, I just tried to mix it up. I know it's going to be tactical. At one point, I was trying to change the speed, because going to after 15th mile, going to First Avenue, they might move quite a bit fast, so I was trying to lead and try to slow it down a little bit. That was the tactics I used, as Coach Larson and I discussed. But, you know, the temperature was okay, but the wind you can't do anything about. You know, living in Mammoth, the cold you can bundle up, but the wind is kind of rough. So it was gutsy, and at times it was going back and forth. I was kind of, I put myself in this situation, but at the same time, you know, you have to be able to take advantage. I wasn't in the lead when it was headwind, but wind is a little bit behind me, and so it was. You know, it was tactical, maybe the best men and women would win, and they did today.
Were you thinking of pulling a little Meb magic out of your hat there? Was Meb strong?
You know, it's always great to inspire people. I feel very fortunate to the position that I've been, and to be an American, and to be able, it was amazing experience. I mean, I think from the vibe from Boston is still going, and people saying Meb, and USA, which is phenomenal, and definitely they helped me at the end. You know, it was try to be able to keep Rodich at the end. They had quite a bit of gap on me, and then be able to get Jeff Fremont at the end. It's just, as we all do, we always fight for every spot, every time we can, and that's what I did.
Absolutely. Thank you, Meb.
Thanks for having me.
Joined now by Kara Goucher. Kara, your comeback race. Can you talk just about the entire day, please?
I thought I was ready to run 2:28 on a good day, and we got what we got, and I kind of decided with my coaches to kind of take a gamble and get as much protection from the wind as I could as long as possible, but it didn't slow the race down in front as much as I would have liked, and I got a little in over my head, and it was just really windy. I found myself by myself, and just really hit the wall for the first time in my career, and really struggled, but you know, had some encouragement from people like Dina that went by.
Absolutely. Can I please open up the floor to questions, and please, if I could ask give your name, your outlet, and then ask your question after you have the microphone. On the far end, yes, please.
Hi, I'm Cathal Dennehy from Runner's World. Question is to Med. You took the lead early on in the race and spent a lot of time at the front in pretty difficult winds. What was the thinking behind that strategy?
I mean, when you think the gun goes off, you have to just think, and I tried not to be in the lead as much as I can, but sometimes you can't help it, and it was windy for everybody. Mind you say you draft, but it's not like straight line trying to draft. People are trying to make left and right, and you know, I love being in the front, and you always want to get to that finish line first, but at the same time, it's just to inspire others and be up in the front, get the New Yorkers to something to cheer for, and I feel I've done that.
Jim? Microphone for Jim.
Yeah, Jim Gerwick, competitor. Des, there were like a couple of early moves. The pack stayed together coming off the bridge, and then there were a couple moves on First Avenue. They'd gap you a couple yards, you'd fight back, they'd gap you, and come back. When did it kind of really get away from you, and you kind of changed thought process to being, okay, I'm going to pick off the stragglers? Can you describe sort of maybe the last 8 to 10 miles of the race?
Sure. I think it was around 19 that I was completely broken from the pack, and normally I just kind of settle into my own rhythm, but earlier in the race it happened a few times, and I figured if I ran 10, 15, 20 seconds just a little quicker, it was going to be better to sit on the back of it and go with the group. So I definitely tried at that 19 to do that again, and I knew it would be more beneficial. And I don't know if they picked it up or I was just really hurting, but they were gone, and it changed the whole race because it was like racing to surviving in that wind, and you just felt like you were being blown backwards the rest of the race. I had some people to pick off, and there were some pretty respectable names in front of me, so it was fun. It was fun to do that, and you do fight for every spot, and you don't, a lot can happen in those last few miles. So I was happy to pick off people even, right on that home stretch.
Peter? You got to wait for the microphone.
Yeah, it's Peter Gambaccini from Runner's World. Was there any part of the course where the wind was consistently advantageous to you? I mean, I know it kept switching around it all, but was there any like 2 or 3 mile stretch where you consistently had it at your back?
Dina has an interesting expression on her face.
I guess the answer is no, right?
I'll just say, I think the wind, it wasn't like just a constant in your face. It kind of swirled around and got you from the side and had you clipping your leg, and so it was kind of an annoying wind in that regard. I think the difference was when we could get out of the buildings and the sun was on us. It actually felt a little bit warmer when the sun was coming out. So we had some moments where we could get warm, but I don't think any moments where the wind actually helped.
Front here, just a question or two. As you can see, we have a few other guests who are making their way forward. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, Jonathan Gold, Let'sRun.com. My question is for Dina. I'm wondering, you sort of fell off the pack and you were going backwards in terms of the pace you were running. It looked like it might be a rough last 10 miles, but then you sort of got it back together. I'm wondering, can you take me through your mind what was happening in the middle of the race and how you were able to get back to running on pace?
Yeah, it seemed as if I fell asleep out there, but I was actually just digging down for all the inspiration we have in our pockets to try to rely on race day, from my sister getting engaged this weekend to the fact that I wanted to represent the Mammoth Track Club so well, and my sponsor ASICS, who's been with me for 14 years, and I'm very grateful for that. Just everything to people relying on me, to relying on the work that I've done this summer. And nothing was getting me out of that rut. It took Annie going by me at about 22 miles and looking so beautiful in her stride that I thought, oh my God, I've got to look like that. So I tried to emulate her for a few strides and got into a little faster rhythm and was able to cover probably the last 5K a little better than what I was doing before then.
All right. Thanks very much, folks.